When a boy's first day of school doesn't go quite according to plan, his high school life takes a turn of unfamiliar circumstances. Hitohito Tadano is a boy who views himself as dull, as he can't believe he got into the prestigious Itan private high school. Attending his first day with the plan to stay out of trouble and blend in with everyone, he merrily looks up from the bottom row of his locker to greet a fellow classmate. He is instantly struck with nervousness as he notices that the classmate is a very attractive female and gives praise to such an elite school, but is soon left speechless. The student stares at Tadano for a moment, which makes him feel quite uncomfortable. She quickly walks past him and leaves him by the lockers, looking back in her direction anxiously. He turns back to see her name engraved on her locker, Komi, and heads to class. Tadano finds himself sitting in the only empty chair in class next to the girl he met in the locker room earlier. He soon realizes that Komi is practically adored among the students for her composed, quiet, and regal air. Tadano sweats when he realizes that everyone is throwing daggers at him for sitting next to Komi. The teacher walks in and introductions commence in the classroom, beginning with a timid female named Agari. She stammers from nervousness in her introduction, making her classmates giggle and applaud her for her effort. Agari takes a seat and Komi stands up to introduce herself. Rushing for the chalkboard, she swiftly writes her name and walks away as the classroom roars with applause. Tadano quickly stands up for his introduction and exclaims how he is looking forward to the school year. He is left with silence after his introduction and drifts back into his seat. Resting his head on the table, Tadano is woken by the sound of someone talking. He sits upright and hears a meow. He looks over to his right and he notices Komi staring back at him. Komi instantly stands up and dashes for the door, but is stopped when Tadano asks her if she is bad at communicating with people. Tadano suggests Komi to write what she wants to say on the chalkboard, making Komi rush over and do so. In her writing, Komi tells Tadano of her experience in not being able to communicate and how it has been tough on her. The two go back and forth conversing on the chalkboard for some time, till Komi tells Tadano that her one dream is to have 100 friends. Tadano writes back that he will be her first friend and will make it a mission of his to help her make more. The following day in class, Tadano and Komi are at their desks when Tadano begins to envision himself telling his fellow classmates how Komi is looking to make new friends. Tadano looks around the room for who he can talk to first and makes his way over to a group of 3 girls. He calls out for Yamai-san and she turns around and asks him what's up. Tadano tells her that it's regarding Komi-san, but before he can continue, Yamai leans in to whisper in his ear. In a sinister voice, she tells him that he should be addressing Komi as Komi-sama, as she is a noblewoman unlike a loser like him. She goes on whispering rude comments until she pulls away from Tadano and gleefully tells him not to talk to her as she turns back to be with her friends. Later on, Tadano is wondering what he can do as everyone he tried talking to gives him the same response as Yamai. Giving it one more try, he stands up and walks over to his childhood friend, Osana Najimi. Osana looks up at him from her chair as she mentions Komi, who is standing next to him. Tadano, surprised to see her next to him, quickly introduces Osana to Komi, but stops to ask her why she is wearing a skirt. Osana asks what he is talking about as she gleefully exclaims that she is a girl, but Tadano mentions how she used to wear the boys' uniform. Quickly, Osana is surrounded by students who want to talk to her, making Tadano and Komi look on at how easy communicating with others comes to her. Soon, the large group disperses and Tadano walks over to ask Osana a favor. Happily, Osana agrees, and Tadano tells Komi to try the phrase they practiced earlier. I would like to be friends with you. Time goes by and Komi is frozen, but soon manages to say the word I. Tadano encourages her but not understanding what is going on. Osana questions Tadano on what is happening with Komi. Tadano explains that Komi is telling her that she would like to be friends, but Osana is in disbelief and says no. Tadano calls Osana outside of the classroom and asks her why she would reject Komi. Osana explains that when she was in elementary school, she tried to talk to Komi but was ignored and the rejection hurt her. Tadano suggests Najimi walk home with Komi, to which she agrees on the condition that Tadano stops calling her Osana but instead Najimi. Agari, a shy and nerdy girl, is by the library when she senses her classmate Komi following her not so discreetly behind. Nervous of being watched, she hides herself in a bathroom stall. Her serenity is quickly disrupted when she hears someone on the other side of the stall door. She begins to worry but soon leaves as she hears movement on the other side of the door. On her way out, Agari bumps into a teacher who tells her to inform her classmates that gym class will take place at the gymnasium. Agari nervously tries to attest to the task but takes notice of Komi peeping at her from around the corner and immediately agrees. On her way to her classroom, Agari wonders how she will speak in front of everyone. Standing at the doorway of her class, she loudly says, "Pa!" Her classmates repeat it, questioning if she is okay, making her even more nervous. She backs away from the classroom and sees Komi staring at her from the hallway. Agari screams in fear and yells to her class that their 6th period gym will be held in the gymnasium and runs away. Earlier, Najimi told Komi and Tadano that she has listed all of her childhood friends that have the closest personalities to Komi. That way they can select Komi's next friend. The first on the list is Himiko Agari. As they watch Agari in class, Najimi tells Komi and Tadano that Agari is a good person but gets stressed around people. As Najimi continues, Komi disappears and so has Agari, and that is why they were both in the library in the first place. In the present, Tadano is talking to Komi at the stairs about how even though she was unable to talk to Agari, she will have another chance. As he says this, Agari makes an appearance and tells Komi that she was scared when Komi kept staring at her. Komi is shocked to hear that she scared Agari until Agari tells her that it allowed her to loosen up a bit and thanks Komi for it. Tadano asks Agari if she and Komi could become friends. This startles Agari as she tells him that it is impossible as she is not worthy to be Komi's friend, but consents to instead be something like her dog. Yamai, a classmate who is obsessed with Komi, takes Najimi and Komi to her house for a spontaneous visit. However, she has Tadano tied up in her room after kidnapping him earlier so that she could take his seat next to Komi. When the three of them arrive at Yamai's room, Tadano bangs against the closet in which Yamai shut him in, and Najimi opens it against Yamai's order. When they manage to free him from the ropes, Yamai tries to talk to Komi into being friends with her, but Komi and Tadano make their way out, leaving Yamai in a puddle of tears. Days later, Tadano is staring outside his classroom window when Komi writes to him that they need to talk. At the staircase, Komi feels as though she's putting Tadano in danger, and writes in her notebook that she's not sure if they should still be friends after what Yamai had recently put him through. As he begins to tell her that it is not her fault, she quickly scribbles in her notebook to say that it is, and she does not think she should be his friend. Tadano looks at her in silence as she hides her face behind her notebook. He tells her that he understands, but that he can choose his own friends, and he chooses Komi. Komi writes that she's sorry, but when Tadano questions what she is sorry for, Komi nervously tells Tadano that she would like to be his friend. Tadano tells her that he too wants to be friends with her, but is interrupted by Najimi, who brings Yamai saying she wants to apologize. Yamai apologizes to Tadano and extends her apology to Komi, telling the latter that she had been very presumptuous in assuming that Komi would want her to be her friend. Komi quickly writes in her notebook and shows Yamai the word, "alright." Yamai is bewildered that Komi still refuses to talk to her and immediately takes out a sharpened chopstick and tries to stab herself with it. Najimi tries to keep it away from her as Tadano begins to explain, saying that Komi has bad communication skills. In a sinister tone, Yamai tells Tadano to stop bad-mouthing Komi. A few minutes later, after explaining everything to Yamai, Tadano realizes that Yamai wants to be Komi's friend. Tadano asks Komi what she wants to do as she stares at Yamai, unsure but soon. Komi writes that she'd like to be friends with Yamai, making her reach out to her with joy. A few days later, Najimi asks Komi if she and Tadano can go over to her house after school, and Komi agrees. When they get to Komi's house, they meet a woman who looks just like Komi. Unsure if it is her mother or sister from how giddy she acts, the woman introduces herself as Shouko Komi, Komi's mother. Komi begins to wave her hands around in embarrassment as her mouth starts to use slang. Up in Komi's room, Najimi starts to compliment the area as she takes a seat on the bed. Komi takes a seat on a cushion opposite Tadano as they sit in silence. Najimi asks Tadano to say something, making Komi shake with nervousness. But soon, Komi's mother walks into the room to offer snacks and tea. A few moments later, Najimi asks Komi if she can use the bathroom and walks out of the room, leaving behind Tadano and Komi. She leaves the door ajar and gets on her hands and knees to peek at Tadano and Komi alone. Time passes, but they keep silent and move around the room each time, making Najimi walk back in the room disappointed that nothing happened between Komi and Tadano. Najimi goes over to Komi's bed and lays under the covers, but soon reaches her hand under the bed to pull out magazines on conversation techniques. Najimi gazes at the bookshelf and asks Komi if she can take a look through her photo album, and soon Najimi, Komi, and Tadano are looking through the pictures. As it is now late and dark outside, Komi says goodbye to Tadano and Najimi. Najimi and Tadano apologize for not cleaning up, and Komi shakes her head at them in response as they begin to walk away. Back in her room, Komi looks at the mess left over until she is startled when a message comes on her phone from Najimi, saying she secretly took the picture below and won't send it to Tadano. It's summer vacation, and Komi and Tadano are in their respective rooms, planning to call each other but neither having the courage to do so. At Komi's house, Komi is listening to the phone ring after deciding to call Tadano, but the call does not go through. Her phone starts to ring in her hands, catching her by surprise as she answers it. At the other end of the line, Najimi happily tells Komi that they should go to the pool tomorrow and that she has already invited Tadano. Najimi asks Komi if she would like to join them, and Komi gives a nod. Najimi asks if Komi can hear her and continuously says hello. Komi manages to speak in a whisper, stammering that she will go. A few days later, Komi and her father walk to the library but soon stop outside a shaved ice restaurant. A few minutes after entering and taking their seat, a waitress comes to them. Taking their order, Komi and her father take out the menu to point to different meals and proceed to sit in silence. Similar to Komi, her father sits in silence as he wants to ask her about school but hesitates. When the meal arrives, Komi gets a brain freeze from her first spoon, and her father slides a hot beverage over to her. Komi's father asks her how school has been and inwardly feels happy that he asked. Komi looks away in sadness and looks back at him with a small smile, making him smile in return. He leans over to pat her hair and tries his shaved ice. One day, Komi and Najimi meet at Tadano's home. Tadano welcomes Komi inside and closes the door behind him, but is stopped by Yamai's foot wedged at the base of the door. The group makes their way into Tadano's and his sister Hitomi's room. Hitomi comes to the doorway and tells them that since she and Tadano share a room, they will be seeing her around. Najimi and Yamai say hi to Hitomi, but Komi only stares at her. Najimi slams a paper on the table, stating that she made everyone come to Tadano's house for an important mission, to help her finish her summer homework. Najimi asks everyone to show her their homework as everyone chimes in how she keeps doing this every year. Tadano tells Komi that she does not have to share her notes. Najimi becomes furious by this as Tadano tells Komi that he and Najimi will do their homework as she, Hitomi, and Yamai can relax. Time passes as Najimi mentions how their summer vacation is almost over and begins reminiscing on all the fun they had. The group notices Komi's eyes welling up with tears. They all turn to ask her what's wrong, as she writes saying that she has never wanted the summer break to last long before. Days go by as summer vacation comes to an end. Komi is in her room when she gets a message from her classmate Nakanaka, inviting her to her home. Komi sends a response back and a few days later makes her way to Nakanaka's house. Nakanaka greets Komi and they make their way to her room. Nakanaka asks her to sit anywhere she pleases, and Komi takes a seat on the bed. Nakanaka turns on the television to show Komi a game she has been playing, but realizes that Komi will soon get bored and leave. Nakanaka invites Najimi over and soon, Najimi bursts open the bedroom door with Tadano behind her. As the group gets settled, Najimi suggests that they play Swamp Bros. After handing out the controllers, Nakanaka, Najimi, and Tadano pick their characters, leaving Komi clueless and staring at the screen. Tadano turns to show Komi the controls, while Nakanaka and Najimi begin the game. Under Tadano's direction, Komi begins to move slightly in the game, but starts to sink in a lake of mud. As Nakanaka and Najimi play against each other for some time, Tadano and Komi are walking around in the game. He points to a button on his controller for her to press. As she does so, it causes Najimi to become distracted. Nakanaka punches Najimi, ending the game with Nakanaka as the winner, leaving Najimi trying to explain what happened. One day in class, Komi writes in her book that photo stickers are popular these days, and it seems like a fun activity as she shows it to Tadano. Tadano agrees and asks if she would like to go, making her nod frantically. Najimi walks over, stating that she heard everything and they can go to the arcade by the station. Yamai approaches them, asking if they are going to get photo stickers without her, making her join in too. In the arcade, the group is walking as Komi looks around in amazement. The group stands in front of a photo sticker machine as Najimi and Yamai select the frame. They begin taking photos as the machine tells them to switch between different poses. When the photo comes out, Najimi yells at how awful they are and laughs, whereas Yamai exclaims how adorable they are. Najimi decides that they should go get something to eat, and they walk out. Komi stops to look at the claw arcade game and quickly runs out the door with Tadano watching over her. A few days later at school, Tadano greets and sits next to Komi as he hands her a small cat keychain. Komi gasps at Tadano as he explains that he saw how she was interested in them at the arcade. Komi shows him a similar keychain as she writes telling him that she got Najimi to take her back to the arcade. Komi writes that they should trade keychains and Tadano agrees. They exchange keychains as Najimi walks into the room to greet them and asks what is going on while they both shiver in embarrassment. It is the day of the Eton High School Culture Festival, and Komi's class voted Maid Cafe as their activity. After dressing up in her maid's outfit, Komi is surprised by how short the skirt is, as Najimi tells her that they made a longer one for her. Outside the doors, a middle-aged man who is a self-proclaimed maid cafe expert named Tatsuhiro Akido is welcomed in by a bubbly Najimi and follows her to her seat. He looks around and smiles, thinking about how the cafe was made with such great attention to detail, but is interrupted when Najimi shows him the menu and asks him what she can get him to eat. Nervously, the man selects omurice from the menu and looks around the room, observing the maids. His thoughts are paused when he notices a scared Komi shaking as she makes her way over to him to give him his glass of water. When she approaches his table, he is taken aback by her piercing stare and begins to wonder why she is scowling at him. The man comes to the conclusion that his blatant staring at the other maids has upset Komi as she slams the glass on his table. Najimi serves the man his meal. Once he is done eating, he stands up to leave, but is stopped by the shy sound of Komi saying please to him. He turns around to look at her as Najimi comes beside her to correct her farewell greeting. As the man stands outside, he thinks of how a maid saying the wrong farewell greeting is a taboo, but Komi may be an ice queen type of maid. Later on, Najimi tells Tadano that he should put on a maid's outfit as they have a rejected outfit from Komi. Tadano plainly says no to Najimi, but is soon wearing the outfit with a pink wig. Komi's mother walks in and the boys in Komi's class show her mother to her seat. And as she thanks them, Tadano approaches her with a glass of water. While on a break, Tadano is seated and exhausted, but looks up to see Komi walk in. He tells Komi that she did a good job, and she gives him a slight bow. Komi takes a seat as Tadano mentions how well the day went, to which Komi nods. Tadano asks her if the maid outfit suits him, and she pulls out her notebook to write that he looks cute. It is the after party of the culture festival, and Najimi decides that they should go to karaoke. As Komi and Tadano arrive in the room, Tadano asks Komi if she has done karaoke before. Komi writes in her notepad that she has gone before with her family once, and her mother was the only one who sang. When everyone gets settled, Najimi orders 12 sodas and asks everyone to enter a song into the karaoke machine. When Komi's turn comes to input a song, she starts shivering in fear as she realizes that she has to sing the song she picks. Tadano tells her that she does not have to force herself to sing, to which Najimi looks at him and tells him that everyone has to sing a song. After everyone picks a song, Komi shakes while searching for a song for herself, until Najimi begins singing her song into the microphone. The group cheers her on as Komi selects a song and is now scared. Komi continues shaking as Yamai makes her way to sing, dedicating her song to Komi. Once the song is over, Yamai turns to look at Komi with pride and begins to think that Komi's shaking is due to her being moved by her singing. Nakanaka stands up front to sing her song next and says that her perfection in singing the song will make Komi shiver. As she looks around the room, she sees Komi shaking and feels happy. As each person stands up to sing their song, Komi gets more nervous. When Komi's turn comes up, she is taken aback when she misses her cue to sing and begins trembling instantly. Everyone watches Komi in amazement as Yamai says that the song can only be heard with a pure heart. Komi stares blankly at the screen until her song comes to an end. Tadano gets up for his turn to sing and notices no one is paying attention but Komi, who is rattling the shakers. When his song ends, he walks back to his seat in embarrassment but is stopped when Najimi pulls him and Komi to the stage so they could sing the next song together. As the song is about to start, Tadano tries to protest to Najimi, while Komi takes a breath and readies herself to sing. And that was Komi-san wa Komyusho desu, recapped. If you enjoyed this recap, remember to click that sub, hit the like button, and comment down below to let me know what you think of the series. I'll see you in the next video.